Today, we are fully flaming the internal logic of Bong Joon-ho's movie Snowpiercer. Alright, it's mise-en-scene time. This movie specifically relies on a strictly horizontal layout and a highly repetitive composition of narrow hallways. Logically speaking, this movie makes no sense though. How does a train that's been sprinting across frozen tracks for 17 years not derail even once from the sheer kinetic energy of hundreds of rebels constantly charging horizontally through it? Then there's the infamous tunnel fight. The guards have full night vision goggles, but choose a slow-mo melee axe brawl instead of just shooting the blind rebels from a distance? Terrible military strategy. But visually, this is where the director completely succeeds. The pitch-black space, pierced only by the warm orange flames of the torches, creates a very high-contrast shadow that perfectly exposes the visceral, messy nature of the lower-class struggle against the cold, clinical state of oppression. We also have one of the main characters, Edgar, just jumping to his death, like Tony in Brawl Stars.
Edgar then dies during the axe fight scene when Curtis ultimately makes the call to let him get captured rather than blow the entire operation on its head. Every part of his story in this movie was shaped by a system and a man that he never got to hold accountable. So you're telling me Curtis, the guy that's been playing the hero of this entire movie, pulled Namagung aside right before the engine room and drops the bombshell that he's accountable? He says,
I know what people taste like. I know that babies taste best.
But here's the thing, right? Narratively, this confession is absolute cinema. It makes it clear that Curtis is simply a product of the world that he's forced to live in, completely reframing the entire revolution. He's fighting for justice because he's fighting to outrun his own guilt stemming from the strain. Because the baby that Curtis almost ate was, in fact, Edgar himself, meaning that the entire protector alpha male act with Edgar was built on a foundation of personal shame that he could never say out loud.
So these things are the only food that the tail section passengers get. No variety, no flavor. The bars are deliberately made unidentifiable, stripping the tail section of the most basic human pleasure of eating real food. And then, it's revealed the bars are made from ground-up insects, a secret Wilford keeps from the passengers, because apparently, knowing what you're eating is a privilege. But hidden inside these boxes are capsules with messages that Curtis ultimately uses to plan this revolution. So these things go from symbols of oppression to symbols of hope, except it's later revealed that Wilford planted those messages himself as a form of population control. The tail section can't eat, can't know the truth, and can't even revolt without Wilford's permission. Bong uses this disgusting little block to argue that when a system controls your food, it controls everything. So Curtis needs Nam Gyung to open every door between the tail section and the engine. And this man will only help if he gets paid in chrono, which is essentially this train's version of crack and drugs. And you're telling me the key to the entire revolution is a drug addict? Chrono is simultaneously the opium that keeps the lower class sedated and the literal tool that destroys the system. It's the same substance used to numb the pain of oppression and becomes the weapon that ultimately ends it. Bong is literally arguing that the means of liberation are always hiding inside the mechanisms of control itself.
The teacher uses the Wilford song and propaganda film to indoctrinate the children 26 hours a day. These children speak and perceive Wilford as a beloved and sacred grandfather, not the man who is currently using them as engine parts. The juxtaposition of a gunfight occurring in a schoolroom is Bong's deliberate choice to blend innocence with violence. Every visual cue at the start, such as the bright colors, crayon drawings, small desk, and happy teacher, tells viewers that it is a much safer place compared to before. However, after the egg with a hole in it is broken apart by Curtis, revealing a note saying blood, the teacher pulls out a gun, and the image of a peaceful schoolroom is completely shattered. In addition to the perpetuation of violence, the school card represents the concept of how systems can perpetuate itself through education and labor. In this case, the children are both the most efficient targets for indoctrination and for slavery.
And everyone is in their place except you. You think my station is without its own drawbacks? It's noisy. And it's lonely. The fact is, we are all stuck inside this blasted train. We are all prisoners in this hunk of land.
And now the perfectly correct number of human beings, all in their proper places, all adding up to what? Humanity.
Damn it, close the engine!
You're telling me that this guy creates a genocide and still has the balls to make himself seem like a reluctant servant of humanitarianism? He acts so suspiciously nice to Curtis. It is not as if Curtis has just fought through the entire train, killing dozens of people, just to get to Wilford. Wilford is a direct critique to the big rich guy archetype. The idea that one genius is the only one keeping civilization alive. That's just illogical. It's also illogical to justify an atrocious event committed to the same society that you're trying to help.